inflation no there's one of the year in Kofua ka ho asema say it does not reflect the world market near the Kofua crowd fee say bia as a manipulation be abem near there per how o ka say do you also tone that you say to say the Kofua can
so share no I'm talking about the economy now for economists no man looking to say the happen with the BBA, maybe economists in the council. We a questioner, maybe Sanyana forces here can say almost inflation at 3.2%. The average Ghanaian of inflation at 3.2%. Who call Utia electricity bill? Who feel it? Do you feel say that overfixation on inflation, I don't get it. We should be really looking at the cost of living because at the end of it, me a family say me cost of living the bathroom and me home and the question is here and the answer to that question is no. This year me no can say me home me home children. So if you are cry kokumasi ya to car me fa ne boom. If you are cry kosunya baby am free ya to car me from boom so me tofu well good me car mo ne boy de ne boy koso enti I mean really the cost of living is an answer kwana koso me abema we the kind machawo na machia watiefu nina indeed say World Bank project say ye inflation rate near there from 3.2% to see I'm no say. Now say you project inflation rate about all the way to 9%. Now similarly, we are looking at a growth rate declining from somewhere around I believe it's 6% to 4.8%. Now a hard drink kakra. The entire makers a hard drink kakra say. If we have an inflation below 4% and we are now looking at inflation jumping from 3.4% to 9%, question is, does that mean fundamentals still are not in place? Those fundamentals are not any strong enough now. What is contributing to that potential, or what will be contributing to that potential increase in our inflation rate? So I share fuel prices as other kaya brand fuel prices from about all the way to single digit. Now I can say so the prices of fuel, local fuel, determined by the world market prices, exchange rate, market competition, and the levies and taxes. But solution one kasabia the dominant factor global oil market prices and so like I am forecast saying no correct. But you should be happen in Middle East impact I have on our fuel as I say I'm not say diesel somewhere around 17 point something almost close to 18 cedis per liter. We share petrol and also 13 point something premium net crowd so say above 14 now. And who say the or it suggests to say the fundamentals of the economy in here that strong. Inti idea as a tenancy year now put it in place strong policies amaya more export oriented and less dependent on imports. Policies are a bit more boa amaya tini I expanded your tax base. Sami etima raise the necessary revenues a bit more invested into the key sectors of our economy. And I will not be surprised that these are the main factors World Bank ABC on and almost say inflation beat me all the way to 9% because minimum says fuel prices a cost of pay. Automatically that would also impact transportation prices automatically that will also result into increase in food prices in the account.
I see, but can I say ka wo share economic indicators here as compared to 2024 no. And can many year the say yes 2024 so my panika say the economy is resilient. Why do we have to argue with him? Say this external shocks never necessarily be drop by 1.2%. Haven't we done well?
Well, indeed, check the macroeconomic indicators. I mean, even MPP are buying free so January 2025, you know. Now many of the macro indicators, say inflation, now who say the Bolivia cancer was on a downward trend. That was an inflation rate in a buffer. But we are not free any baby MPP are buying a jar and a toy. We share GDP growth rate at the same thing. Now GDP growth rate and so air cost from the COVID time 0.5% to 2024 GDP growth rate was somewhere around 5. I believe around 5.7%. Yeah. Same with public debt to GDP. I mean, all the indicators were showing the economy was actually recovering well. And no matter so. But over Kaiser, yeah, 2025, I say, good board of homes and some mobile, normal Castle, because as I say, you know, yetimi, managing gold export is bringing much more influence into the economy. The exchange rate in the economies will be including me. I can say for us to build a very solid economy, you know, is also about we put in place solid structures and solid systems in place. We could see what amanonia impact with local and our domestic economy greatly. And even the lessons MPP are buying no issue from the COVID period and the Russian-Ukraine war. My man, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, and they go for reserves, no go for oil program the buyer. Say we will be putting in place policies so we see Amanonia intimately impacting greatly. One district, one factory now was supposed to help us. So now your team are producing many of goods now you're consuming locally. No, your team are producing it locally. Until say BBC wa manone ana ehia say saa nyoma na ye importing bebebe ne yebetuma produce wo ha dia na higher kese. But the ban we ba so no o share policies are what pursue right from the onset. We say policies that is geared towards imports. Until I'm try so more pursue an exchange rate a movie dollar CD no to between 10 to 12 Ghana cedis. Ama say you know because it is not reflecting the real market dynamics. You know, Ama say you know imports are relatively cheaper. I know say Association of Ghana Industries and many of our domestic industries complaining say and no good industries now. Ama say you know the Ghana here be more and more. No, imported if you are money. What the high cost of utilities in this area is that my industries need to be surviving. Into a year Ghana ever more import driven. You see what man on the pen about affected. It shows that the economy is so dependent on external factors. You cannot say is that resilient. An economy that is so much dependent on gold exports. But no, because as here, gold prices are dropping. It is something that will affect our economy. And no team many economies say no, actually team pursue policies are a way to expand our agricultural sector, a bit to expand the industry, a bit to expand our export sector. And no team pursue a bit to me finally abase other cancer economy near the bank. Resilient because the economy, if it was that resilient, Inca will not be in a situation US Iran war chassis now fuel prices are now and because a single digit now all of a sudden diesel at 17 Ghana cedis.
I see. So now Doug, yeah, recently we say Fitch for, but before we start that question, I mean, come say lawyer Daniel Enim Prempe is economist and a private legal practitioner has also joined us. It was a discussion we see now. Before I make call so doc, mami to we few home and I mean call lawyer so and I see an Fitch for say last week I even had America Bojo on it now. Fitch for the two just say the US, Israel and Iran war now that external shocks no wouldn't have the impact and hit Ghana to say the SSA hit Ghana because your economy is resilient to that extent. Almost cite your gold purchasing policy. Quite fast to good new good amanone economy sa no mani na. And I be person with business say the World Bank of also the ababekei ana fetch for so different thing. Sometimes do we have to believe in this international data and research firms, do you have to believe them because they are the same people who also predicted the elections and it came to pass?
What I was saying is, I will leave the judgment to your listeners whether the war that happened with US, Iran, or whether it's impacted our economy or not. I mean some of these things, even international agencies and international organizations, they can't share what is like.
Okay, I'm saying, Dr. Nyame Befi, government needs to implement strong policies to expand tax base. Dr. Nyame Befi, Ereka Wechen, and Fatam, Obesa, I join you. So let me go to lawyer Daniel Enim Prempe, is economist and a private legal practitioner. Say thank you very much. So I join you. And now I hope say you have read the article, the report now about the World Bank for and some more Canada say. The inflation that was 3.2%, about 9%. Your growth annual was 6%. It will drop to 4.8%. I think that minimum there a bit me a heti beam any idea. We will call it be a catastrophe. The person hated this country. You as economist, if you are to advise the president and prepare what to be that interim measures obey. To reverse this airban because World Bank for the say already predicted that. So we can they are giving us a clue so we can work on it. So what do we have to do to reverse this? Okay, so let me go back to Dr. Nyame Befi. So doc to say the medical canon question I bisa a lawyer no say BBC banner and prepare if you are to advise the president what to be the measures and the interim measures we should do. Just say your debate will reverse our catastrophe. Yeah,
see, the American yes, I mean, Ujama Ghana for Casa, your more prediction. I mean, or an answer more judgment. I don't let you, they will tell you, say, the economy no more say resilient. If it was resilient and can talk away in a very short term, it will not be impacting us that much as even transportation here in a cost. So the advice I give this government
and also Germany. Doc Pacho, respectfully today, when you go to Germany, they have started feeling the impact, even the largest economy in the world. Albania, some of the European countries, they have started feeling it, and some African countries are doing even better than us. Have started feeling it. So,
no, I'm not saying, sir. I'm not saying. I'll be the last person to say, sir. A war in US, Iran will not affect us. I mean, Kroma has said economists to form up on table can say Russian-Ukraine war affect the economy. Yetiti, if you want or more abanus this year, I can say Russia-Ukraine war over 6,000 kilometers a day, then impacted. But since I'm one answer, I can say US, Iran will affect it. I mean, I'm an economist, I'm an academic. To me, the general Hamburg is not affecting us. That's what I'm saying. The American here said the likely or the impact, the adverse impact on the economy will be determined by policies about the way the to acquire. So Ghana is so much focused on gold exports. Now, investing into industries. Now, so gold prices drop due to what we it will affect our economy greatly. So, focusing on our export sectors. Now, all we do is import. Yeah, it will also affect us. And Inter-America said, based on lessons and experience from the COVID period and the Russian-Ukraine war, there were some lessons learned about the refinement or more that now put economy put on a strong footing. In focus on diversifying the economy and also investing into the export sector, agriculture and industry. And on about our economy in engineering, it is a BBC Kurana Sabi impacting the bank and you
etina me bisa say eba say na yemfa na say enyaba, and so we have to do something to reverse it. What will it be? You as economist, say eba say we advise on my penina
for example, fuel prices. So they say fuel prices they say cost, which will impact transportation at there. In Jordan, fuel levies nibi. Boom so levy one Ghana cedi per liter on the buy say. I'm not going to suspend that levy. No, not the relief abre Ghana for. So these are some of the practical steps that I'm taking to mitigate the impact by so that suspended so levy no more review the many levies in the actual fuel also.
I see, but that doom so levy say is for the people that use car or more motor fuel, the power or more machines here, printing press, money factories near them. But in any bia, yawo was a no manner. You bet me I feel that so the ordinary person or no so in su
can maintain was you baby over Kesben one faka over car na one faka
me car
na auto fuel and one to fuel
to fuel
I do is impacting all Ghanaians. Because we had the even in Ghana, I want to be free. You could media bank and second, I want to be Fadiaba. It is a full price because we are affected transportation costs. Into the say about affected some Ghanaians and affected, more affected in now.
Now, a bassano so are we not living behind the do so that we want to battle the do so now about Saint Fourth Republic ye person yi free on e basa na affect no.
Yeah, we need policies and no that boama doom so na the jai, and we saw it. I mean about we take over and that doom so no more or less na free go increase based on policies yeah man penny His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia the buyer okay ECG revenue collection at ECG increasing from somewhere around 400 an average of 450 million Ghana cedis monthly to over $1 billion Ghana cedis and no solve a financial problem within the energy sector. So these are some of the policies that between the two overburden Ghanaians. So I don't believe in the doom so levy no solve doom so no. There are policies that between the two between abwa.
Okay. Now 4.8 no and can enye say 4.8 no so because say abayi oba befa sa your friend say economy we say na grow 2024 and grow by 4 the third quarter na 5.5 and ye beto aba na 5.8 and abayi edeko 6%. So upon all these economic shocks no a balance be a grow by 4.8 deficit of 1.2 now. Is it not good for a country like Ghana? Say upon all these things in the BIA to grow by that.
No, internet shows it's not only about the macro numbers, but we should also look at impact on, for example, cost of living. We should look at how dependent Ghana's economy is on imports, and and also unaccountable more. And if after all these macro numbers, inflation buffer, but cost of living a cost, I mean, really, the average Ghanaian, then I will feel it. That means I know that I know and I see it to focus on more.
Yeah. Okay. That's fantastic. Now, and before I make jamu akono, inflation no. There's one of the year in Kofua Kahwa say it does not reflect the world market near the in Kofua crowd free say beer as is a manipulation be album near there. Per how o say, do you also tone that you say to say them Kofua Kano?
Is it? So normally I'm talking about the economy, not for economists. No man looking to say the a happen with the maybe economists and they can't answer. We a questioner, you may be saying on a forces here, I can say almost inflation at 3.2%. The average Ghanaian of inflation at 3.2%. Who call Zoom, who to your electricity bill, who who feel it? Do you feel say? That overfixation on inflation, I don't get it. We should be really looking at the cost of living because at the end of it, I don't me a family say me cost of living a bafumana me home hamiana. And the question is here, and the answer to that question is no. This year, me no work. Say me home me home children. So me if we are cry kokumasia ya to. Car mefa ne boom if you are cry kosunya na baby am free aye to car mefa me boom say me tofu well good me car mo ne boy de ne boy koso enti I mean really the cost of living is no answer kwa na koso.
Okay dog e better see
meso me das me ya.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kwesi Nyame Befi, economist and director at the Institute of Economic Research and Public Policy. And I'm going to say a train commander. But we have some slides to route to you now. What the World Bank for Kankasa. So let's start rolling them one by one. We will say Ghana's economy expected to grow again, and World Bank project 4.8% GDP growth in the 2026. Signals economic recovery after debt crisis, and inflation projected to fall to 9%. Okay, so Menemo can say your growth 6% as of end of 2025 December 2025 ne 6%. Okay, so December, January, February, March, April muni ye wosisiano. The April muna World Bank for project say for that 6% to be drop at about 4.8 because of some circumstances on a signal economic recovery after debt crisis. Almost so such as say your economy a bit recover say your debt crisis need na yetimi solve your debt crisis now. That is that inflation projected to fall to 9%. They say inflation 3.2%. In fact, unprecedented in the history of your friend say the Fourth Republic. Your inflation etimi hit to such an extent. So 3.2% and you World Bank for say by the end of this year a bit me hit 9.9%. You better kai say ura to force now no ye finance minister no would you come here to assess per what is going on. They are doing their best, but per what is going on, that external shocks and all that a bit me ama inflation by the end of this year now I hit 8%. So the World Bank can 9%. I think that to forcing is very, very good when it comes to projection. So that is that. So inflation slowing significantly compared to recent years. Okay, so inflation is slow kakra or to compare the previous years now. There's the inflation here a different. Okay, so that is that. And according to the World Bank, it says Ghana's economy is expected to grow again, or say indicate improving price stability, but prices will still rise just more slowly. Okay, so World Bank 4% much say indicate improving price stability. It says your prices beya yi kakra say we are kwa kota dia anke bia ade ye kwa koto ye kwa na ke bia 5 cedis en shada no enkoda no enso emanachi, but o se say ebeba ese pese prices ne pese kosro kwampo na ebeyen kakra enye gidi. They say that mobile guys and here 2022-2023 and ye beda nyani bia no na inflation no ahete kosoro ekoya kokodu 52 point something. In fact na yemu bi na yente enormous no, but World Bank say winning konkoye sa nimum ebekọ kakra bi do obekọ ne ato no mem, but obekọ ne ato mu a ebi ebetimi adi be 3 months ansa na akwa ato mu ente se first ba na ye hit catastrophic season, then obekọ market ne se na awokoto bi kura wugira ho na awoto ade no bia o kwa akoto pen ewo Unicef follow shop eti bia udu shop wonum no ye se pen ye 10 cedis uyi sika ne dia fu botomu wa anya fast and sika ne fast abe sika ne we ni atutum eti eno no omo che se enkoyekoye sa we no e bia ebeko slowly start okay. And they are also saying say drove driven by mining and oil production and exports. And your mining and oil production no and na ebema your growth na sa 4.8 no ma project no ye betimi enya. So your mining no ye beka is a gold board e kwan ye fa so a ye gold edifri ha ye export ne sa no man. In fact the gold board has really helped this country, honestly speaking, because ye nim panifo be breading kumo, including those who oppose the gold board. And even the MPP people have spoken with a lot of them. Big catcher say the gold board is the good idea, but NDC need to be managing here. Even some of them were even telling me say it is good but Senkebia NPP for the managing now they could have done better than what we are seeing now. So it means that the gold board is good. So the oil production and the export and normal bit me export to and the mountain nanka yen cut it down now you free the import driven economy. So the beer ye pese ko kradeba be pese ko kradeba na export no and more than what we import now a bit me my economic growth no more than that. So they are also offering us a solution and normal a bit me aboye ama yetimi anya. You say macro stability versus the household reality. Key contrast to emphasis was the economic indicators improving. Cost of living still high for many households. So or say economic indicators keep improving, but cost of living is still high in many households. The World Bank for person much say CIA way World Bank Africa for ne kasa no. And no much say CIA kasa ye ka economic indicators a bit say ye ka inflation ho asemi ye beto abanin inflation no na 21.4 he say me no ka say about 3.2 omo che say a indicator it is improving. The food inflation nanka food inflation no 21.0 by say food inflation here 5.4 it is improving. Your foreign reserves me no ka say yes your foreign reserves no nanka ye beto abano na 10 billion say I hit 13 billion it is improving. Ye ka be to say your GDP ya ba beto abano na ye keka kwa $100 billion, but you say no ya exceed $100 billion it is improving. On and on. It is the indicators ni na no ye prime rates ye ka ho asem it is eno so no improving and the economic indicators no, but omo che say upon that no uko householder as a hochire kakra ewo ho ahochire ewo ho nti aban ni betimi ayi bibi ni a check sa no manama enkofo asa economic indicators ni ntimi impact omo life positively no aban ntimi enso anu nti omo maye key contrast and emphasis. So wachira we say ne besi no wasachira okwan ya obefa so abetimi amasa no man wetimi reverse na say wa stop no. So that is that. Highlight or see food prices, transport costs, rent pressure, wage growth lagging behind inflation. So that is that. Into or see rent pressures. Say how much say household na ye kan ho asem say ahochire ho do the economic indicators no so, but ahochire ho no sa ahochire no mo kan bi ne say your rent pressures say a dime bono as a twan ye tutum do ye see ye ho atoye en kanenke ye sen kane no de en de no credit e ba kope wo de compare ne compare kane no a ne de e ye sen kane no, but Ghana ni say World Bank chese omo ye fihwe mu nu se dan boodene okoha dan a nti kadan a na nkatama na ye ho ekire ye mpa no na ke bia 1,000 cedis a month no sa dan ne me no kase betimi akobia 1,200 and asa 1,004 in 2005 sa na chete rent pressures ewo ho and a transport cost ho na me wo ayi kakra omo chese ya anye careful a transport cost no so betimi aheti beni say ebe ne ya me no kase the GNTCC4 and GPRTU and the transport ministry net nase no omo decide on the transport fare no see ebetum anase yentum etu omo chese oil na what market ekosro no 109 per barrel no I say come nya ne tiese na no pay a drop it but e con 9 no kwa no mo chese a pass and I say go beyond the 10% threshold no eto hu behia se etoto transport fare mu ebisu chese no da bi baby adu no still an enye all that significant and hit a driver for the papa etike be ya yenjai ene ade ba driver for no so I do say apart from even the fuel no kwa no they buy you fair say spare parts and the spare parts so no bo abasro and afei okoba bi ti say insurance premium no so no and also abasro eti eno ka hu bi and the bema transport fare no akoso so we are waiting say meeting no on be wie no na de ekwakosi and the food prices and so mo che say ebebasro food inflation de akanyame adom aba form kakra na fufu na yetwa for 10 Ghana cedis no still are 10 Ghana cedis me hu say ya sesemu ti say de na kan yihuru no first no but how much say if care is no taken sa you know food prices ne ebetimi akoso which coming from the World Bank. Okay, I say fiscal discipline improving confidence and debt restructuring easing pressure and investor confidence gradually returning. IMF program showing early results. These are missed up. Okay, so fiscal discipline improving confidence. So IMF also say ye very disciplined. Say yentimi nkofesika ebia de ministry bia onfa nkoye saade we se ni edini nyafu afi ye de akowura we mu na contract ni ebia 3 cedis kra so ade na 9 cedis ni ade ma say yenye discipline ade ni kwa se disika kowura mu ye de akowura mu de hia nko an ye no yes say abai we se bai no wa ye saade no tiama confidence about it is improving confidence. That is that. Or say fiscal discipline. Right to force na wadi adie bi aba na saade na wadi aba no ye friend commencement authority authorization. Yes, commencement authorization. Say so we ministry and I say we institution sha aban ase na se bia ye the budget ba ye allocate sika de ba ministry ho no mo a wontimi fi prekopa na starting use scan say eyawo na wo minister it is scan beto account ma mo shase mo fa bi nkwa ha munye we say we aduma we say yes 6 unit classroom block mo koye che compound mo ko se debi wontimi use say sika no ya lock no it will take the Ministry of Finance and I no ato force as a Minister of Finance no or then the bema go ahead say sika we say obetimi start here use no sa time we tieni yo obetimi use no sa time we say it be kra na e sika na ba bia January ye de ba January no o hwe no ma bia so no ma mu a na bia ma go ahead bia March and April it me no ka say some of the ministers ye budget we ba bia di sika kono bebre kwa no ye mi o ma you know commencement authorization ye mi ma o starting use o musika enkobobo chese na ma road minister koye sa so source bebrebe no because anya sana we will lose a lot of contractors so no can will be to what to force yes sad no ni na for fiscal discipline enti the banso ne say ye bie de ba wa so use scan fast na ye no ma want me use na December ba ni ya close no enti say usika no wa use ni na the akan biare sa ban sa edeko so send ye beya or the way the neighbor send ye beya intimi ni sika no nyafunyafu debt restructuring easing pressure eti ye debt ye ka ye de no as ye restructure ye ni ye fa kon ye befa so ebetube twetwa na e ma ye pressure no so te investor confidence gradually returning eti IMF say uba Ghana a investor your confidence no and as a GDP more economy no as a gradually no saya aba kakra so that is what the for a cache so IMF program showing early results no or say but Ghana still faces debt vulnerabilities just say ya more bododo ye ka ye dia usha just say ya more papa sana IMF for eka and also reforms must continue beyond IMF supervision asemwe ya ka just say ade bia ebeye bia no IMF for no crash say ade bia no we should make sure say ebe go beyond almost supervision that many Dr. Nyame be feeding komo sisi na me catch and say doc say the IMF for predicting at the end you betimi aye to reverse that and no see nya confidence ye dey share trim say no be the economy ne dia maye ya na betimi aye so we should not watch the projection dey ma projected here but we should also make sure do something to make sure say ade be de bi ani kwase trauma nkofo ene bebe supervise en won na eche se ne besisi aye ba mo fa anese for dodo anese for say wo pepa kwase so fa ebia bless for 10 also there be factory pe ebe ma sika sem na say ene ade o fa ebia police for aka ho to beef up security to give value to the society and the IMF will tell you say no men for police for 15 for police for 5 to 6 not the pressure better so meanwhile you need the security to give value to the society because you haven't met the World Bank and your friend is the United Nations and the World Bank your friend is a threshold you know and I say yes so anti ebasa no we have more security to do that na IMF no count share on na kire say come the door kra na apese odidi a opese udidi utofufuo na woto nam to so a no aka cho say nam no na say ka to 5 cedi but 1 Ghana cedi pe on na kire kwan but on no kire say yen go beyond that yen nya de a ebebro de enya IMF supervision nkwa yan so yen na yen fa enka the IMF supervision